Okay, so he's promised that if he behaves, then he can play with the phone for a while. So, humility in practice. Um, so I don't know, man. I've been reading on on King Ahab in the book of First Kings. He's the husband of Jezebel, yeah, and I don't know, man. God has just been putting it on my heart today around the issue of humility. And first, I was just talking about on another platform, of course. I was talking about how we need to, as children of God, we need to be willing to be corrected. Yeah, we need to submit to correction, to authority that God has put in place to in our spiritual covering, that we may be corrected. Right, be open, especially in 2024, to be corrected. And the only reason why one can be corrected is when you're humble. So humility is something that we really need to begin to practice. And so as I was, initially I was actually just out of curiosity, I was reading on Jezebel because I've always as because I've been hearing men about the spirit of Jezebel, and I was just like, who is this woman? I heard about her a long time. I just thought, who's the Romans, and why is it that a spirit is named after her? And so as I was reading on that, of course, then I came across then her husband, and then I was just going through the book of Kings, the whole book of the whole First Kings, yeah. And so what really struck me was in the book of, I think it's chapter probably 21 or something like that, or 22, when King Ahab, King Ahab wants his vine. King Ahab wants his particular vineyard, right? And the man that he wants to get the vineyard from, and he offers him a really good price or even a better vineyard because he wanted to use the vineyard for something because it was close, I think, to his residence, the king's residence. But then this man says, I am not allowed, the Lord is nature, something that, I'm not allowed to give you the inheritance of my people, right? I'm not allowed to give you my land. And so he's all sad and whatever. And then Jezebel, comes as the wife. And it's like, why are you so sad? And the king even didn't want to eat. I was like, what kind of king was this? He really wanted the vineyard that bad? Or was he just a king that was so used to getting what he wanted? And so Jezebel is like, no, get up. Is this how you want to act as a king? Get up, eat. I'll get you the vineyard. And so she writes something to the leaders where this man stays, and then she tells him, you guys should have a fast, put this man in a particular place, and put these two scoundrels to accuse him, right, that he has cursed God and that he has cursed the king. And I think cursing God and cursing the king was punishable by death, and so this man gets stoned. And so therefore, after she hears the man has been stoned, he tells her husband, the man is dead, go get the vineyard. For tell you what I'm saying. And so when he's in the vineyard now, the king Ahab, one of the things God tells, of course, Elijah, go and tell him. And then the message that Elijah comes with is, you're going to die. The place where that man's blood was licked by the Abudi. So he was told, like, you're going to die in this way. And then he was told how his male, descendants were going to be wiped out. He was just going to be destroyed, technically. And he was going to die. And his body would be eaten by dogs. And so this king just tears off his clothes, man, and puts on sackcloth and really humbles himself, right? And it says he goes about meekly. So he just goes about his life since then, very humbling. And he also fasted. And so afterwards, God sends a word back to Elijah, and he says, like, do you see how this guy has humbled himself? Okay, fine, go back and tell him that the disaster that will befall him will not happen in his day, and it will happen in the day of his son. And it amazed me about the humility of God. I mean, not the humility of God, but just how much God honestly loves the humble of heart, right? The humble of heart, God, the humble of God, or rather how God lifts the humble, right? He sees you, bro. He sees the humble. And I think since this is the first day of 2024, and in my devotion that I've been having today, humility is the thing that keeps on coming up. And then I was just like, you know what, God, teach us humility. Teach me to see humility in other people as well. Like when it's presented, open my eyes that I see it. Make me see humility, how humility is practiced in fear, how it's practiced, or how it presents it, how it can present itself in the midst of anxiety, how it can present it. Just make me see humility throughout the year. And I think God will genuinely lift us when we are humble. And so I think that is also the call that I want to make, right? Be humble in every circumstance, even in moments where you think you are in the right, even when you feel like you've been wronged and therefore you not just be prideful. And sometimes I've quite a lot heard of people who pride themselves because of who they are, especially their tribeness. Like Nisa Hamas say, as a proud what. I think it's just my Nigerian coming out, and I think it's just my this coming out, and I think it's just my that. And sometimes we can justify our prideful actions based on our cultures. You know what I'm saying? In our environments. But I think God is really, really calling for a community of people who will be humbled so that his power can be revealed in our lives as well, and what God will actually do to transform. So in moments where you feel like you're wrong, in moments where, man, just seek God in humility this year, right? Like, let's just show up to God meek and humble. Meek and humble. Let's fast if we need to. Man, let's practice fasting as well, because I could see in that moment, because this guy tore off his clothes, put on sackcloth, and he fasted. And God considered fasting a form of humility as well. So as part of our, maybe we will not even try, maybe you will be thinking to yourself, but I am a humble person, like I'm not that. But maybe it's also in the area of fasting that we need to begin to show humility as well, right? That we need to subjugate our bodies to a lack of food, as Christ said, men shall not live by bread alone. And we also need to practice fasting in our lives. Yeah, man, I think those are the 2 cents that I'm getting as this year is beginning. May God bless you.